Good afternoon, parents and students. A very warm welcome to Singapore Polytechnic's first virtual open house. My name is Paris, and I am one of the lecturers at the Media Arts and Design School. Welcome to this webinar. Before we begin, our director, Ms. Tan Yan Yan, would first like to say a few words. Yan Yan, please.
Thank you, Clarice. Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a privilege for us to be able to actually see you online and for you to join our School of Media Arts and Design information sharing session. So I guess many of you are probably in a pretty much state of excitement as you await your O-level results. And of course, many of the parents here are probably a little bit even more nervous than the kids. But in any case, I think this is a very important juncture for all of you as you make a decision of which path to take as a next chapter to your academic pursuits. So I think many of you are here because you are very interested to find out more about what the media arts and design sector offers and whether SP is actually a suitable school for you. So this is a great opportunity for us to have that interaction and for you to find out a little bit more. I think all of us actually have been affected by the COVID situation, and the question in our mind is, how has this situation affected the job prospects for creative professionals who are interested in a career in media, arts and design? I think a very clear thing that is affecting this entire sector is really the advent of digitalization, and it has moved even faster than ever. So how is this course going to prepare you to become that creative professional for the future? I think that SP has taken a very bold step. We are launching the very first batch for all of you who are coming in and welcome you into the Diploma in Media Arts and Design, in which we have actually merged 8 diploma courses into just one with different specializations. Now, why are we doing that? You know, in the new media arts and design sector, there is a shift towards integration of skills, whereby we are really training professionals for the future. And what does this professional look like? It's really a person who has a broad range of skills and also a very open mindset who is able to contribute effectively in teams in different fields in the sector. So one of the key things that you will be experiencing as you come in is really this flexibility in which SP is the only polytechnic that offers this option. So you will, when you come in the first year, have an opportunity to try out taster modules of the 8 specializations to see exactly which specialization you are interested, be it music, games design, animation, or integrated marketing. So also, you will have the opportunity to really build up the mindset needed for a successful creative professional through our Foundry programs, in which you will be looking at areas of psychology, design, as well as storytelling. And you know, a very important thing for a creative media professional is building up your industry portfolio. So what can you expect when you come in? We will really be giving opportunities to our students to be able to have that authentic learning experience to build up a very solid industry portfolio that allows you to work with clients from different sectors and to really showcase your skills, which would be very useful whether you are choosing to pursue a university degree or to join the industry straight away. So if you were to ask us, what does the School of Media Arts and Design stand for? Remember, we are here to make a difference. Making a difference in what sense? All the lecturers here are committed to making a difference to you. When you come in here, we will be training you to be confident and creative professionals well demanded by the industry of the future. And what about What about making a difference to society? You will have the opportunity to involve yourself in projects that would create social impact and also making a difference to industry, where the projects you do will be able to create financial value for industries that you will be joining in the future. So with that, I really want to say thank you very much for coming in to this information sharing session, and please feel free to interact with us as if you have any questions, to really put in the questions so that we are able to address them. And I hope you really enjoy your afternoon with us, and let's sit back to enjoy a little video that will introduce you to our school. Thank you very much.
The first thing you have to understand is there's this thing called Moore's Law. It's the doubling of computing power every 18 months. That will change business, that will change the way we go to market, that will change customer behavior. So what does it take to prepare you for that world that doesn't exist yet? It requires you to have the open mindset. Don't narrow yourself into a speciality. Your world is now this broad expanse of what it could be, and the more you learn, the better off you are.
In SP, we have actually brought together all our 8 diplomas into a single diploma and allowed students to be able to cross into the various media sectors. Industries are changing rapidly. Many jobs are merging together, disruptions are happening, and in order to be ready for the future, students need a broad range of skill sets, not just their domain skill sets, but skill sets that allow them to cross into other sectors, so that if their industry closes, they have the skill sets to go into another sector, into another industry, and to find other jobs. And this gets them to be ready for the future.
So it's no longer just about how good your ideas look, how good your ideas sound, but how you're able to know what they're looking for and then really apply that, right, to solve a real problem. At the same time, I think it's important to have an agile mindset, because they say that these days change is the only constant. So good creative people are really able to apply that change, apply what I just spoke about, blend them together to come up with a perfect solution.
If you want to learn how to be agile, how to work collaboratively, how to problem solve in a creative manner, and to train across different disciplines in a transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary manner, then the SP Media Arts and Design School is the place that you should be.
Welcome back. I hope our director's message, as well as the video that you just watched, provided some information about our diploma. In the next 2 segments of our webinar, you will get to ask questions that our on-screen guests, as well as the guests that we have in the breakout rooms, will answer. In the first segment, you may ask your questions through the QR code that you see on the top of your screen. Put your questions there, and our panelists, who consist of our course chair and deputy directors, will take the questions later. Now, if you have more specific questions about the specializations, after this Q&A segment with the panelists, you will be invited to join separate breakout rooms through Zoom with our domain experts who are within each specializations. You may ask your more specific questions about each specializations there. Let me first introduce to you the panelists for today. We have with us our course chair for the Diploma of Media Arts and Design, Mr. Christopher Goh.
Hi.
Our 3 deputy directors, Ms. Tang Suin, Ms. Doris Na, and Ms. Wendy Lee. Ms. Tang oversees the Foundry program that all DMED students will take in their first semester, and she also leads the transdisciplinary projects and pedagogy in our school. Ms. Wendy Lee oversees the specializations in animation and game art, motion design and effects, game design and development, as well as music production. And Ms. Doris Na oversees the specializations in integrated marketing communications, story content and creation, design for communication and experience, and applied drama and psychology. Based on the questions that you have for us today, the relevant deputy directors or our course chair will answer them and answer your questions. Before we begin the Q&A segment, our course chair, Mr. Christopher Goh, would just like to give a few more words about our diploma. Chris, please.
What is DMACC and why should you apply to DMACC? Hi, welcome parents, students. My name is Chris and I am the course chair for the Diploma in Media Arts and Design. Now, over the last few years, what we have noticed is that jobs have been merging. We have seen graduates having required to have skills that goes beyond their own domain. Our industry partners have informed us that they require graduates with complementary skill sets that cuts across various disciplines. In the recent news, I'm sure you've noticed as well, NUS has merged their science and arts faculties, and they have looked at how the old model is no longer relevant for a post-COVID world. There's a need to integrate multiple disciplines to train our graduates across various disciplines. And even MOE in recent news has also indicated that there's a need for interdisciplinary learning, and that is something which DMACC looks at. Our Minister for Education, Mr. Lawrence Wong, has also said a broader connection of things is required to work seamlessly across different disciplines. And we need graduates to be equipped with those skill sets. And that's what DMACC basically is about. Let me talk a bit more about DMACC and the graduates that we have. The vision we have for our graduates is to see them come out with broad-based expertise that grounded in a common core from the creative and design sectors, versatile, with a core skills of knowledge, adaptable, and able to face a rapid changing industry landscape, equipped with interdisciplinary skill sets, able to solve complex problems. This would grant them career mobility in the years ahead. Now, what is interdisciplinary approach? Now, let me just share a bit more. In the past COVID situation the last year, the government required an interdisciplinary approach to solve complex problems. And as we move ahead, we also beginning to realize that an interdisciplinary approach is required as problems become more complex, as things become more overlapped. And so you have things like, say, healthcare, that needs to work with pharmaceutical, logistics, economy, supply chain, finance, organization, and business. And all these things need to work together hand in hand in an integrated manner. The DMED program was conceived and approved on 11th June 2020 last year, and we had our first EAE batch applied in, and we will be admitting our first cohort in April this year. You guys will be the first batch of students that we will have. Now, what happens in DMACC, and some of the course highlights is, firstly, all students that come into DMACC, whether you're from EAE or JAE or from ITE, you'll be doing what is called the Foundry program. The Foundry program is basically a core program which brings together all the skill sets from the media, arts, and design sectors and to give exposure to students. You'll be selecting 4 out of 8 taster modules, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. And you'll be engaged in a project module called Playlab. Now, after your Foundry program, you select your specialization, 1 of 8 that are available in the DMACC course. And throughout the years in your specialization, you'll be working together in transdisciplinary teams with live industry projects as much as possible across various disciplines to give you the ability to collaborate and work across in a complex way to solve complex problems. Now, what is transdisciplinary? Transdisciplinary basically is a term that we have used to describe people from different disciplines working together on new ideas to solve problems which traditionally cannot be solved by a single discipline. And the way we're moving ahead with the problems we are facing, transdisciplinary is something that is recognized as required for our graduates in Singapore. Now, this is a broad example of what happens across the 3 years. as what I mentioned. In the first year, students get to explore in the first semester in Foundry, and then they go into their specialization modules, where they're equipped with their core specialization skills. In second year, they are empowered with studio project modules as well as the DMACC whitespace modules. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a short while. And in third year, students will go on to the final year project and do their internships. Now, what is it goes into the Foundry semester in year one? Now, the Foundry structure will consist of 3 core modules: Storycraft, Principles of Design, and Understanding Human and Communities. Now, the 3 core modules are all brought together into a project module called the Play Lab. And students would choose 4 out of 8 taster modules. The taster modules are basically a small module to give you a certain taste and an experience of what the specialization is like. So each taster is tied back to one of the specializations. Oh, sorry, I jumped a bit too much. Now in PlayLab, what happens is that students will engage in PlayLab, and this is where all the things you've learned in the 3 core modules are brought into a project-based module. And you begin to cultivate your creativity and your problem-solving skills as you work across with various teammates in a problem-solving situation. After which, towards the end of your Foundry program, you would choose one of the 8 specializations. Now, I think I skipped a bit from the taster modules, and let me touch a bit on the taster modules. All students will take 4 out of 8 taster modules. Now, the taster modules are not GPA counted, but you need to clear your taster module in order to be eligible for the specialization. Right, so once the students have done the taster modules, they have a sense of which specialization they fit into, and then they can apply for the specialization based on how their performance has been in the Foundry and their taster. Now, these are the 8 specializations that the DMACC program offers: Applied Drama and Psychology, Animation and Game Art, Design for Communication and Experience, Game Design and Development, Music Production, Integrated Marketing Communications, Motion Design and Effects, Story and Content Creation. Now, in second year, while students are in their specializations, there will be space in what is called the MED white space for students to pick up complementary skill sets. So you could be a drama student that perhaps wants to pick up additional skill sets in creative writing. And there could be modules in the white space which allows students to pick up complementary skill sets like creative writing, basic photography, digital photography, basic animation or motion graphics, or things that will help them in their core specializations. In second year as well, you have to go through what is called a MED Studio project. Now, the MED Studio project, students come back together from the specializations to work across various disciplines, to work on complex world problems and to solve problems together as a group. And then in third year, students will then engage in their final year project and internship. Now, the internship is based on the 22-week cycle, and it's based on the flip-flop model where the first half of the batch of students will go out for internship, while the second half does their final year project. And in the second semester, the reverse happens. Now, let me just share with you some of the visual images of the facilities that the Media Arts and Design School has, from the immersive media labs to our photo studios, to our prototyping labs called the MED Factory, our black box for drama, writer's room for creative thinking and writing, and the think tank for the animation students. We also have spaces for audio recording, sound recording, drawing studios, and production studios for visual effects. Now let me touch a bit more on the early admissions exercise for those of you who are interested in the EAE. Now, our EAE exercise mainly is to know you more and for you to understand what you're getting yourself into and for us to understand your passions and your aptitude and your skills. Our early admissions exercise generally is based on 2 stages. Now in stage 1, all EAE applicants, I'll say that again, all EAE applicants will have a chance to put in an application form and to take part in their stage 1 assessment for the EAE. Right? After that, the teams will go through the submissions, and then you will shortlist the students for the stage 2, which will be interviews. Now, whether these are face-to-face or done over Zoom depends really very much on the COVID situation, and we will take direction as it is from the relevant ministries. Now, successful students will then be offered a place in EAE. Now, EAE students, as well as the JAE exercise, sorry, let me rephrase that, the JAE exercise, now the students would need to meet the ELR to B2D list of subjects, which means you need to have English, maths, plus one other subject from the list there, as well as any two other subjects within the relevant grade range. Now, all this information is available online on our webpage. So if you need to go through that in more detail, please feel free to drop by our webpage and take a look. Some of the career options available for the various specializations is listed there. So again, these are things which are available. I'm not going to go through each of them because it's quite a lot. So do feel free to drop by our website to take a look. Now, for further studies, our current diplomas are articulated into the local universities and to universities overseas. As our program now has changed somewhat into a merged diploma, we are currently working towards the articulation with the current universities to reaffirm the various articulation programs into the universities. We have verbal confirmation and approval from them, and we're working through the formalities of it. Now, for those who intend to work and to do part-time courses or to deepen their skill sets, we also offer part-time training or continuing education and training courses, which are at night, generally. It is various special diplomas or part-time diplomas or work-study programs. And with that, thank you very much, and we would love to hear from you and the questions that you have for us.
Thank you very much, Chris. We will now start the Q&A segment. As mentioned earlier, please feel free to use the link that you see on the top of your screen, post us a question, and we'll try to answer it in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll now take the first question and see what we've got, and our relevant deputy directors or course chair will answer them. Let's wait for the first question.
Now, while our team is putting together the first question, I think one of the things that we have been seeing so far is this question of what is the cutoff points for DMACC? Now, I know all of you are dying to find out what is the cutoff points, but unfortunately, this is our first time we are running DMACC, so that we don't have any data or statistics to show or to have to tell you what the cutoff points are. We do know that based on the response from EAE, it is quite competitive, and there are a lot of requests and applications coming in via the EAE stage. Right, so for questions related to cutoff points, I'm sorry, we are not able to answer that at this stage.
We had a couple of questions come in through the mail earlier as well, so maybe we'll start off addressing those as well. We have one question specifically about PFP as well as portfolio-related question. I'm guessing this person, Carolyn Shi, would like to know specifically for the animation and game art, would a portfolio be required? What's your take on this, Chris?
For animation and game art, okay, so it depends on which stage you're coming in. She didn't mention whether she was EAE or JAE, did she?
She said PFP.
PFP.
So does that help?
So for PFP, I don't think you're required for a portfolio in that stage. But since we touched on portfolio, for PFP it's quite a different level of entry. But for EAE, yes, you would require a portfolio because you will be engaged or you will be offered based on your aptitude. For JAE, you will not require a portfolio because it will be based on your O-level score. So I hope that covers the three broad categories.
I think it does. Thank you, Chris. Same question that I think you can help us with as well. Do you think that the number of students per intake next year is going to be affected by the COVID-19 situation?
Yes, it will be tremendously affected, and there'll be a huge demand. Now, really, jokes aside, I think with the event of COVID, that accelerated a lot of demand for media content creation, digitally equipped graduates to help companies in their digitalization efforts. So there is a huge demand. We have constantly been getting requests on updates on where our graduates are going, whether we have sufficient graduates from ministries and industry partners wanting to hire graduates, because with the whole area of digitalization, there's a whole need for content creation, and there's a surge in demand for that. So we do expect that there will be a great interest in students who are agile, able to cut across various disciplines and able to produce content, media and other forms of creative aspects in design.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Wendy, I think maybe you can help us with this next question. The question comes from somebody, Jacqueline, who is interested in games design and development. And she asked for her child, is it okay if her child who wants to do game design and development is not good at math or art? What's your take on this, Wendy?
Hi, thanks for the questions. It's okay that if your child is not good in art, because for this game design development, they focus a lot on the technical skill. But if you mention that your child is not good in math, I would deeply encourage you to properly make use of this few months holiday before the term start to properly revise the fundamental of the mathematics. Yeah, because it will help your child to learn the programming better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. All right, I think we have a question now from the live pigeonhole. And the question is, what is the expected intake of students next year? So Chris earlier mentioned that the demand is not going to fall, but I guess this student wants to know what would the expected intake be. Chris, what do you think?
Based on the intake, the numbers projected, we have a cohort size of about spaces for about 400 odd students, plus minus. Exact figures are not able to confirm, but generally looking at about slightly above 400.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So about 400. Hope that answers the question. Okay, next question. Is there a limited number of students allowed for each specializations, or will more classes be made depending on the amount of students interested in the specialization? Chris, I think you can help us with this again.
Okay, so the specializations have been sort of modeled after the existing diplomas that we've had, and when we merge the diplomas, we also have a sense of the kind of demand that there are for spaces, because the diplomas that we have been built up for quite a fair bit of time, a few years actually. So there's a certain understanding of the number of students that we have. We have mapped those exactly to the specialization somewhat, taking into account also the population decline, the student population, and we would have a estimated figure that closely matches the diploma intake. So it's close to what the demands are for the last few years for the specialization specific, and that also equates to the facilities and infrastructure that we've catered to run those specializations.
Okay, so I guess to answer the question, it's that the specialization numbers would have been determined, and those have been set based on the current diplomas.
That's right.
Okay. Let's go on to the next question. Is it okay for me to join DMED without too much experience in certain modules? I'm not sure what certain modules this refers to, but perhaps it's about maybe certain math or English or science ability. What do you think, Chris?
Okay, so like what Clarence was saying, we're not sure what certain modules refers to, but DMED was created for students to come in with the true foundry, to come in to explore their skill sets, what their passions are about, what they're good in, and it's a place for you to discover, perhaps I'm better at animation than game development, perhaps I'm better at 3D motion graphics or motion effects versus, say, animation, and the foundry allows you to do that. So you may not have certain modules, that's fine. We are open to welcome students in that nature. Although certain modules may have specific criteria and specializations, they will not be that overwhelming or that critical in nature.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I guess the whole point of having this common entry point is so that students can feel free to explore their different skills and strengths, and then work through what kind of specialization they might be good at later on. Okay, let's take the next question. How big is your cohort usually? Besides the cutoff point, is there any other factors to get in? Okay, so I guess it's again related perhaps to portfolio and other criteria. And does the application for MED get overwhelming? Chris, what do you think?
Okay. As mentioned earlier, cohort is about slightly over 400. We don't have any statistics or data for cutoff points, as mentioned. If you're coming in through JAE, basically you're looking at your O-level grades, and you need to make sure that you meet the ELR to B2D, D for Delta requirements. Apart from that, if you're coming through EAE, which will open our second batch in June this year, a portfolio would definitely help you, and you would be required to submit a portfolio of sorts for your work.
Thank you, Chris. I think we very clearly answered the question. Different requirements for different admission exercises. All right, next question, please. Will I require any arts or music background to have advantage in this course? So I'm guessing this question is perhaps from someone specifically interested in music production. In that case, I think Wendy, could you help us with this question, please?
Hi, thank you for the questions. Yeah, it's not necessary that you do not have an art background or either music background to be studied in the DMAD. Yeah, because like what Chris has mentioned, yeah, you will be introduced to a series of tasters module as well as foundry modules as well. So set an example, many of our digital animations diploma students in the past, they are all from science streams, most of them from science stream, and do not have O-level art as well. But importantly, it's about your passion. If you have great passion to study well, and you will enjoy what you are studying, and you will do well in DMED. Yes. Thank you.
If I just add on to what Wendy shared, I mentioned earlier that there are some of the diplomas with very specific entry requirements, and they have every reason for certain things. For example, the music production specialization, if you're tone deaf, you cannot apply for the course because it's going to affect your work. You'll be working with music, you'll be working with sound, and so you need to have a year for music, and the team through the taster modules will sort of have a way of sorting those things out with the students coming in through the taster modules.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Wendy, as well. I guess the point is, yes, you can come in without this background, but we're still looking at aptitude and competency and skills. So if having some background does help, but it's not necessary for certain specializations. Okay, next question. Is there a list provided for internships, or do we have to self-source? Chris?
That's me.
Yes.
So for internships, which happen in third year, generally we encourage students to self-source first. We do have a list, and we do provide the list to students, but we also do allow students and encourage students to self-source their own industries, their own companies, and to check back with their lecturers in charge and to make sure that the companies are valid, relevant, and they will be doing relevant work in the internships. So whether you choose to self-source, whether you choose to choose a company in the list, both things are covered.
Thank you, Chris. All right, let's wait for the next question. What is the student life like? We will answer this question, but I think if you're really keen on this, you should stay on for the Med show later. You get to meet our students, and perhaps they'll be able to give you a more candid response to that. But perhaps, Chris, you want to share with us what students' life is like here?
Students' life. Oh, wow. Okay. Engaging. There's a lot of. You'll be very busy in a very vibrant environment. You will be doing lots of work. Lots of projects, dealing with industry, dealing with new ideas, swimming in creativity, working with technology, getting exposed to new skill sets, engaging in things you may not have thought about. It's quite a lot of things actually. But of course, like what Sarah said, I think do drop by the Med show later on, and where the students would be able to share a lot more in a more candid way if you want a student's perspective. We designed the program to be the best at what we feel it is for students in their exposure and training them and equipping them. But of course, there's a lot more things that happens on campus. You've got CCAs, you've got clubs, there's life outside of your classroom, and there's a lot of activities that happens. I was from SP myself, and my best student days were actually from SP, the 3 years here, and I still remember them fondly. So, but do check in with the students later and find out more what the student life is like from the student's perspective.
Thank you, Chris. I mean, I think being a lecturer at Med, for me, it's also that we are in a culture where the staff here, the lecturers, really care for the students' well-being. You often see lecturers hanging out with students, whether it's for just grab a coffee at the food court. Of course, this was all pre-COVID, or working on outside school, outside module projects. I think lecturers here really care for their students, and that is what makes the difference. Okay, let's have the next question, please. How do the taster modules work? Suin, perhaps you would like to help us with this.
Thanks for the question. As mentioned by Chris earlier, so all students will come into the Foundry program, and within the Foundry program, you would also actually be exposed to core modules. At the same time, you will also get a sense of what is the 8 specializations like, and that's when the taster modules come in. You would need to select 4 taster modules out of 8. If you do know which specialization you want to be in, be sure that you put one of your specializations as one of your choice of the taster modules. The key idea about the taster modules, it gives you a very good snapshot of what the specialization is about. So having to make 4 choices of taster modules really gives you the range of possible opportunities that you might not have thought about. Taking these taster modules allows you a sense of what it could be if I was keen in, say, game art and design, for example, and I take, integrated marketing, for example, then I realize, hey, I might be really interested in that. So the taster modules actually afford you more choices, more opportunities, broadly speaking. So we allow you to actually explore what could be and really discover your own passion, what you really could be interested in at the end of the day.
Thank you, Suin.
Sorry, Clarissa, just add on a few more things. I think you guys would like to know also that taster modules are not computed into your GPA. And we made that decision because we wanted students to be able to go in and explore taster. I mean, to discover what is your passion. I don't know, I seem to love animation. I don't know if I'm good at it. I want to try it. And tasters are set up in that way. Now, the only requirement that there is that in order to qualify for the specialization that you want, you need to pass the taster module that's associated with the specialization.
So take the specialization you're interested in and try 3 more that maybe you'll be interested in. I think that's the hope that we have for students coming in with us. Okay, next question, please. What are the chances of each student getting into the specialization that they want? Okay, Chris, help us with this question.
Okay, so
please.
we have run some models of testing. Again, depending on the various permutations that we have. At this stage, we really cannot confirm whether students will get the specializations they want 100%, but there's a high chance that they will get the ones that they do desire. Now, we will get students at the end of their semester 1 in Foundry to actually rank the top 3 or 4 specializations that they want, and we will try whatever we can to get our students into the specialization of their choice, provided they meet the requirements. We also do understand that if a student's passion in a certain specialization, we want to work with you and we want to give you that opportunity to get into the specialization for you to thrive and to fly and to be able to soar in the specialization of your choice. That we are aware and we will try to do what we can. But of course, again, certain numbers are limited and there are certain limitations we have on infrastructure numbers.
Thank you, Chris. Next question, please. Is it possible that I'm unable to get into the specialization that I want, and then I guess you go after the first year? So after the first year, what happens, I guess, if you don't get into the specialization that you want? What happens, Chris?
Alright, so like I said, you would choose or you would rank your first 4 specializations, and if you do not get your first specialization, we will do what we can to make sure at least you get your second choice in your specialization. You would then carry on into the second semester for the specialization that you have been posted into. Now, again, at the end of it, the poly diploma isn't the end of the road, and a lot of students that we know go through getting a diploma and they go on to look at other things. Now, with the way industry is merging and crossing, skill sets are very relevant across the various disciplines. Right? So we know students who, from pure science, have excelled and done well in design and experienced design. We've known students who, from one end of the spectrum, cross over to another end of the spectrum in industry and have done extremely well as well.
Thank you, Chris. I guess the whole point of having this diploma join and merge is also to give students that flexibility to be able to adapt to what the industry requires of them 3 years from now. And the poly diploma is really not the end of your career or your student education. You can further your studies in whatever areas that you're interested in at that point, and you can trust that the diploma here is broad-based enough to give you that springboard that you need in an area of expertise that you're interested in.
That's right. Brilliantly said, Clarence.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. Are there exams in DMACC courses, or is it more of assignments and projects? Chris, I know you can answer this question, but we have not heard from Doris yet. Doris, maybe you could help us with this.
Yes, sure.
Are there exams in DMACC course? No, there are no exams, primarily because in the media arts creative industry, there's a lot of focus on students' capabilities. So we do have lots of assignments and projects that the students would have to do so that they can build their portfolio. I think the portfolio is extremely important for them to be able to find relevant work out there after they graduate. The portfolio will also be useful for them to get into a uni course that they want.
So while there is generally no exams, there are a couple of modules that do exist that do require you to take tests. And those are more on the coding or the more technical related. So there are some tests involved in some of the modules, but very, very few.
Thank you, Chris and Doris. All right, let's take the next question. Are we free to use the various facilities in the school despite not being in the respective specializations? I actually have no idea. Chris, what do you know?
So it really depends on what you're using the facilities for. So being cross-disciplinary and the fact that we want to train students across, definitely if you are, say, a game student and you need to go into the photo lab to take a shot of your 3D printed creature, monster that you've done, yes, you can. You can even go into the prototyping lab to print your 3D printed monster, take it into the photo lab to take a shot of it. Nothing wrong with that, provided there are access slots, free access slots available, and that you're doing it for relevant school projects. However, if you are doing outside work and you come in and you use school facilities, I think there's a bit of an issue there.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, next question. I think it's from someone who's interested in the ITE qualification for the diploma. Out of the 400 projected intake, how many spots would be given to ITE students?
At this point, we can't say this because usually this is managed by admission services, academic services, and they will do the posting because they will work with the GAE system under MOE, and they will then do the posting for us. So we, on our end as a school, we receive the students that are posted to us through AS. So we can't exactly give you an answer to that, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Chris. My daughter is interested in drama and creative writing. Which course specialization would be suitable for her? Okay, Doris, I think you can help us best with this question.
Yeah. Okay, so the nice thing about the DMACC course is that when the students come in, they will get to try taster modules. So as Chris and Suin said just now, the taster modules, there are 8, and each of the taster module represents a specialization. So there will be a taster module that represents the drama specialization, and a taster module that represents the creative writing module. So what I would highly encourage your daughter to do is to take these taster modules. She gets to choose 4. So she could include these 2 taster modules into her choices, try them out and see which one she enjoys better, which one she is better at, and perhaps that will help her to make that decision.
Thank you, Doris. All right, next question. How versatile and sustainable are MED courses in future career paths?
Yep, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think when we started planning for DMED, that was about 2 years ago already. Coming to 3 years. And with COVID, it accelerated everything. We already saw the changes that were happening. Industries were asking for skill sets, for graduates, skill sets to be spending across other disciplinary areas. Students will definitely be able to have certain levels of career mobility and agility. But however, the times are changing very fast. And more importantly, rather than teach students skill sets, we want to teach students how to be agile. We want to teach students how to learn on their own as well. And so while we expose them to be comfortable with dealing with uncertainty, to be dealing with a broad range of things, to be dealing with complex situations, those values, the values of those skill sets, they will take with them through. And so today I may be using Adobe, tomorrow I may be using another technical software, and that's fine. As long as the students, the graduates that we have, are comfortable and agile enough to shift, to change, and to respond and adapt to the changing situations of the industry, they will be fine. And those are the things that on a deeper level is what we want to teach and we want to train and expose our students to.
If I can just add to Chris's explanation about how sustainable are these courses and how does it see us through in the future. As you come in through the foundry and going through the tasters and then going on to your specializations, in the second year we do have what we call the MED white spaces, and these spaces actually offer opportunities for yourself to study modules and topics that are not associated usually with a specialization. So this actually helps to broaden your knowledge, competencies and skill sets. And it allows you to actually have a little bit of like, you have your domain and you also have your complementary skill sets. So I think armed with this way of structure that we have in our curriculum, plus many industry-related projects, we definitely will be able to develop these traits that Chris has actually alluded to earlier.
Thank you, Suin. All right, next question. From what I know, Poly does not have any dress code. However, I've heard that for some courses, it requires students not to have colored hair, etc. What about MED? I do agree with you that individual, creative expression is very important. But Chris perhaps can give us an official answer on colored hair.
If you look at Suin's hair, you notice that it's brown. No, okay, seriously. This is a loaded question. Officially, in some rule book in SP, you're not supposed to have colored hair, and that's all about what I'm going to say. Okay.
Perhaps I can add to that, not about my hair, but more on SP does have in the website there is the student handbook, and it's actually easily available. So I would encourage you to actually go and visit the website and read up on the handbook.
So while we don't emphasize so much on the fact that you should be wearing black and white or in a very formal way, I think the only thing that we require you to dress appropriately is doing presentations and crits where you are making a presentation to clients or your tutors. You will need to at least be dressed appropriately for those situations.
Yeah, I think dressing right for the correct occasion and for the correct context is really important. So while you may dress casually, on a day-to-day basis, it's important that okay, now's the formal presentation, I'm meeting a client, I need to dress and act in a certain way. I think if you want to find out more a little bit about student life and what is like permitted or not permitted, see our students later at the MED show. So they will probably be able to share with you a little bit more about the actual rules and regulations that are actively enforced, as well as those that perhaps are not as actively enforced. They will tell you more about those things. Okay, thank you. All right, next question. What core skills are needed in MED courses to allow students to perform well? Okay, anybody would like to help us with this? I think anyone can answer this question, really. If not, then it'll be Chris again.
Okay. I think the core skills basically that would help students is firstly an attitude of resilience, an attitude that says, yep, sure, no problem. Whatever the problem is, whatever the challenge is in the brief, I can do it. No, let's take it on. I don't know how, but I'll try. I think an attitude like that will see you through a long way, not just in your education, but also in your work career. Creativity, able to think out of the box, able to find solutions, adaptability, able to work across with different people. Those are things that would definitely aid you. If you can draw that as a bonus, it's not a must. I would say, yeah, those are the skill sets. Anything else, guys?
I think I just want to add to that. If you're asking about core skills, then I am assuming that you're referring to the technical skill sets, for example. And I think within the specializations, they will have opportunity. You will have an opportunity to actually learn these core skills. Do bear in mind that these technical skills they do change with time, especially with the advent of technology. We know that certain software they change every 2 years and all. So I think having said that, then we need to be also cognizant that traits and competencies like what Chris has alluded to actually does help. So these things are, I would think that these things are spoken in as an ecosystem and not just looking within core skills per se. So traits like agility, resilience, collaborative, being a team player, certainly will see us through for a very, very long way.
If you notice, we do not mention specific skill sets like you must be very good in Adobe Photoshop. Because like what Swin said, those things will change over time. But your ability then to learn the new software, to learn the new skill sets are the ones that will see you through in your studies and in your career.
Thank you, Chris and Swin. I think that sums it up very nicely that, technical skills are important, but at the end of it, they may be updated when you enter the industry. But what will really see you through is this sense of resilience, collaboration, agility, and so on. Okay, next question. If I study this course, am I able to enter Mass Comm in uni in the future? My understanding is yes, but Doris, what do you think?
Yeah. Okay, so I assume this person is asking about the specialization in integrated comms. The answer is yes, because it's relevant to the mass comm courses in the universities. But if your question is about whether a DMED student can take the mass comm degree in the uni, the answer will also be yes. Yeah, so if you are looking at mass comm courses in the universities, they do look at the entry requirements, and you would realize that a lot of it has to do with how well you do in your poly studies or in your JC studies. And I think if you have a good portfolio, I think that will help as well. A good creative portfolio. So you need not be a graduate from the Diploma in Media Arts and Design, Integrated Comms specialization. You can be doing some other specializations and still be able to apply for the Mass Comm degree in the uni.
Okay, thank you, Doris. All right, next question. What are possible career choices in Singapore for the animation specialization? Wendy, can you help us, please?
Hi. For the animation specializations, once you graduated or even like during the internship, you may be assigned to an animation studio or either game studio or even post-production house. So the career, it could be animation artist, and you can be a rigging artist or 3D modeler or even like a UI artist. So these are the career choices that you could be found in Singapore context. Yeah.
Next question, how do I apply for the EAE? So this is the early admissions that happens in the middle of the year. Chris, when do they apply and how do they apply?
So you would probably be in Sec 4 and you would probably be in an MOE school, and you would need to have notification and instructions will be given to you guys in Sec 4 at the relevant time. Somewhere in June, the application will open, and you would then have to put the application in to apply for EAE for DMACC. In the write-up, there will be specific instructions of what you need to put, what you need to do, and what you need to indicate. And then the selection process will happen in in August to September. And then I think by September, October, or maybe a little later, depending on the circumstances, you would then be notified of whether you are successful. Now, as mentioned before, DMACC is a two-stage EAE process where all applicants, any applicants to DMACC are allowed to apply into DMACC for stage 1, after which then the team will look through the scores and through the submissions, and then they would then shortlist students for the stage 2 application, which is our interviews. After which then we will make an offer to those that are successful in the stage 2 interviews.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Let's see if we have any more questions. I think we have time for a few more. Okay, next question. Does the student need to choose what specialization during the application and admission? So do they choose for DMED as a whole, or do they decide on a certain specialization to look at?
So students don't choose their specialization at the point of application and admission. They only choose the tasters. So they choose 4 out of the 8 tasters. And once they've gone through the tasters and they have a sense of what the specializations are about and how well they do in them, whether they have a passion, whether it resonates with them, they will then choose their specialization towards the end of the first semester in their foundry program. Then in semester 2, then they will be posted into the specialization that they have been given.
Okay, thank you. So basically choose 4 and then choose 1 later on.
Yep.
Okay, next question, is it a must to do specializations?
Yes, unless you want to repeat foundry for 6 semesters, which I don't think you want to. Yes, so students would need to, in terms of the progression through the diploma, they would need to actually choose one of the 8 specializations.
Okay, maybe we have time for one last question, and I think we will then wrap up soon. What are various undergraduate degree programs that one can look into after DMED?
Wow, this is a very broad question.
Yeah.
So, generally, the programs in the creative arts and design sectors, in the media sectors, those would be degrees that are open. We have students that have gone on to SUTD and SIT as well from the current diploma programs, as well as to NUS, NTU, and other institutions. We do have students also in the South pursuing arts programs and other form of design programs as well. So there are, it really depends on what you're pursuing and what you're after.
Yeah,
sorry.
I think that's the beauty of this diploma, that it's really broad-based, so you can pursue many different creative and media and arts and design degrees after you graduate. Okay, so I think that concludes the end of the Q&A segment. I'm sorry if we didn't get to answer your question now, but if we did not manage to get your questions, please do feel free to get in touch with us through email or through our social media accounts. Very soon you'll see flash on your screen. Yep, there we go. Okay, a QR code that will lead you to our social media account. You see our Instagram account there, our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook account, and there's an email there as well. So if we didn't get to answer your question today, you can either drop us an email and we promise to answer your question through email, or you can join us in the Zoom breakout rooms later with our Specializations lecturers, and they will hopefully be able to answer your question there. Okay, so actually now we have come to the end of the webinar and this segment of the Q&A segment. Please do click on the Q&R link and you will be brought to the different Zoom breakout rooms to join our domain experts and our colleagues. You are free to join any room that you like, although you've been assigned one at registration, but if you're interested in a few specializations, feel free to jump and go across different rooms as well. We've come to the end of our webinar right now. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope to see you on campus one day really soon. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.